Look, we're all in games design for a reason. We all like games. It could be board games, video games, any kind really. So I want you to think of your favorite game, the first one that comes to mind. Go on, close your eyes, really think about it. Now let me ask you this. Do you feel like your choices have actual weight? Do you have agency while you play? Hopefully you do, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. Player agency. Specifically, tactical and strategical agency. Why these two specifically? I feel like they're in every game but hidden in the background, and the player doesn't get to appreciate how much work goes into making that feeling come alive in the game. So, yeah, welcome to my TED Talk. You're probably thinking, what the heck is player agency? I could tell you, but I believe these definitions by much smarter people than I would be much better. And I get it, ooh, definitions, but the boring stuff has to be somewhere, and I'll keep it brief. For the ones of you that don't care, here's some Subway Surfers in the corner to keep your brains active. Okay, so here are some definitions by 4 different sources. As you can see, they're all similar and follow the same couple of points, but I believe something is missing from each definition. The word meaningful comes to mind. They never bring it up. You can have choices over and over again, but if they're not meaningful, do you really have any agency? But I said I was going to talk about tactical and strategical player agency, so let's start with tactical. Okay, so those games you just saw are perfect examples of games with tactical agency. So let's rewind and take a look. Street Fighter or Tekken or any other fighting game, to be honest, are great for tactical agency. But what is tactical agency? Well, it's the choices made in the second to second gameplay that affect the game in some way. They're often combat specific. We will use Street Fighter as an example. In the neutral, you have many different options. You can play defensive, you can play offensive, you can zone the enemy, you can bait them into attacking, etc. Every choice has a risk and reward, which is something game designers must think about. Usually, the bigger risk, the bigger reward. We will use the classic Ryu as an example. Ryu can zone with Hadouken, which has almost no risk but is easily blocked, in turn little reward. Or you can jump in with an attack. If it hits, you have a big advantage and can move into combos, but if it's blocked, you get comboed instead. Big risk, big reward. All the options a player must have must also be viable, but yet distinct from each other. This allows the player to not be funneled into better options, but also to not make the game too repetitive. The game designer also has to think about the backup strategies for if the gambles don't work, like catch-up mechanics, desperation moves, which are in Mortal Kombat or rage arts in Tekken, etc. These choices also allow the player to either succeed if they pick the right choices, or fail if they pick the wrong ones. These are just some of the examples of how game designers put so much thinking into their game mechanics, and how many players never get to think about them because they're so far in the background. Look, I don't really have a segue into this topic, so here is a picture of the bestest boy, Tio. Anyways, strategical agency is the feeling of choice when thinking of the long-term goal, the long-term strategy. But the game designer needs to think of many different factors if they want to invoke this feeling in the player. The first thing a game needs is that sort of depth that allows the player to think that they're the next faker thinking 3 years into the future, such as the research systems in turn-based strategy games, or the rock paper scissors type mechanic like in Fire Emblem. But even in similar games like Pokemon, there is the type sheet that feeds that strategic tingle. To allow this feeling to come out, the player must be getting clear feedback as to feel there is no hidden information that they can't use to their advantage. Once again, the game designer must think of clear consequences and understand the risk and reward system. Anyways, yeah, this has been tactical and strategic agencies, and what game designers have to think about when implementing them.